Welcome to Microsoft Excel 2010, Lesson 9 with Megan Reese. In this lesson, you will be required to use a lot of these features that you have already learned and review them. There are a few things that we will be adding. We will learn how to transfer raw data to an Excel formatted sheet, change currency formatting, insert symbols, set up a printing area, and of course review concepts we have already learned in Excel. This assignment is meant to be very much cumulative. If you have not done the previous assignments, you will struggle a lot with this one. We are going to be doing actual searches on the internet and transferring that information into this assignment. We will be creating a travel log, an international travel log, where you will plan your itinerary and the transportation, lodging, and finances required for a trip overseas. I'm not going to take you through this assignment step by step. Instead, I will show you all the new things that are being added, but overall, you should already know how to do most of it. The first half of the assignment is all formatting. You will do things such as inserting new rows, changing font, adding gradients, changing fonts and font sizes, changing background colors, and so forth. But later on, you will be looking up actual flights online and actual hotels online and recording their costs into this document. You will also be converting their foreign currencies into US dollars or the country that you live in. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start on step 6. So everything before step 6 I've just done. It only took me a couple of minutes, and it's all review. So we're going to start in step 6 where it teaches you how to insert a symbol. And we want to get the check mark here. So we're going to go to Insert and go to Symbol. And there are a lot of symbols in here. It should take you immediately to the font called Wingdings. If you're not in Wingdings, then you need to get there. And if you scroll down, the very bottom there is a check mark. That is one of the symbols for this font. And you notice I've got some weird ones in here. That's because you can download fonts that are just symbols. So I have a Halloween font and a Christmas font and stuff. And so, know that you can find fonts like that. If you type in a search for Wingdings and download other fonts like this, this is how you would insert them into your document. But I'm going to click on the check mark and do Insert and close it. And then I'm going to center it. And then I'm going to just copy and paste it to my next row. So that's how you insert your symbols in step 6. In step 7, it tells you to add shading. And this, again, shouldn't be new to you, but I kind of wanted to show you anyway. I added this color because I picked this color here, but it wants a light color. So I'm going to go to More Colors, and it gives me the scale of the color I have chosen, and then I can lighten it up a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Format Painter, double-clicked on it, and then I can just highlight across every other line. And that's what it's basically asked you to do in the assignment. But I wanted to demo it so that you're sure that you're doing it right. When you get to the last part, you only go to this point, to column D, and then I turn it off. So that's how your shading should look. Okay, now we're skipping down to step 10. So make sure you have followed the directions up to this point. Your document should look a lot like mine. And we're going to do step 10 because this is where it starts to get a little trickier. First, we need to set up our plan for our international trip. So you need to choose 3 countries outside of your home country. I'm going to do this from the United States, that you would like to travel to. Now, when you're choosing your countries, a couple of things you want to keep in mind. First of all, it's required that you have 2 different currencies. So actually, technically, it's 3. So your home currency, US dollars for me, and then I can do 3 countries. 2 of them can have the same currency, but I do have to have 3 total that are different. Another thing you want to think, so I don't want to do France and Italy and Spain because they all use euros. You want to make sure that you do different types. Another thing you want to do is try not to go too exotic because you might have difficulties finding flights. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to go to Egypt and then I'm going to go to the Bahamas, it might be really hard to find a flight that goes from Egypt to the Bahamas. I don't know if it's hard, but I would imagine it will be. So you may want to pick really large hubs like London or just places that have a lot of flights coming in and out. It'll just make it easier for you in the assignment. So the first thing you want to do is choose a date range that's coming up within the next, 6 or 7 months, and about 14 days. So, and it can really just be random. I'm just going to pick a date. So I'm going to say that I'm planning this for 8, 15, 14. I have no idea what day of the week that even is, but that's going to be my start date. Then I'm going to pick the country and city that I'm starting out in. Now, if you live in a city that does not have a very large airport and doesn't fly to a lot of places, you may want to just start with the next biggest place. Say you live in a small rural town in California, you may want to just do LA as your starting city, like you're going to drive there or whatever. So I'm going to do LA for mine, so USA, and Los Angeles as my starting city. So that's where I'm going to fly out to the international location, and the language is English. And now I'm going to come down and say, okay, so I'm flying out on 8/15. And then with the same date, I'm going to do my next country, and I'm going to do France, Paris, and they speak French there. And then I get to decide, okay, so I fly out on the 15th, arrive in France on the 15th. And now, how long am I going to stay there? Well, I'm going to stay there about 4 days or whatever. So I'm going to set it up for the 19th. Again, I'm not even looking at the days of the week. I don't really care at this point. This was a real trip. Obviously, that would matter. But and then after France, I want to go somewhere that does not have euros. So that rules out a lot of the countries in that area. But I'm going to go to Great Britain, London, and that's where they speak English, but they also use the British pound there. And I'm going to stay there for a couple days, and then on the 24th, I'm going to fly out to, I'm going to go to Argentina. And they speak Spanish there, I think. Okay, so that's my plan. And I know I kind of went off to a whole new place, but Great Britain, London is one of the biggest airports in the world, and so I'm sure it flies just about everywhere. And then after I'm in Argentina, on the 31st, is there a 31st in August? Yes, 2014, I'm going to be back in the USA. Okay, so now I have 3 different currencies. I haven't written it down yet, but I know that I've got the US dollar, I've got francs or euros, I've got British pounds, and then I have no idea what the currency is in Argentina. I don't know what it's called, but I'm sure it's different than euros. And so that's the first step. You need to figure out your destination. So go ahead and plan your trip where you would like to go. Okay, now we are ready to look up actual flights to go from all of our locations. So you're going to want to go to the official website of a airline that travels internationally. I'm going to use Delta for this. Do not use Expedia or any of those flight sites that look up lots of different flights from different places. Just go to a regular one. And I like Delta because it lets you choose one way, and a lot of them don't let you do that. So we're going to start with Delta, and we're going to figure out our transportation. So my first flight is from LA to Paris. So I'm going to type in the code for LA, or just type in Los Angeles, and it will find the code for you. Okay, and then I want to go to Paris. So, and you'll notice it shows the different ones. I can kind of pick and choose. I want to go to the Paris, France location. Then it asks for my departure date, which I've already forgotten, was 8/15. Okay, so that is September 15th. And make sure you've clicked one way, which I didn't. So you're going to do a one-way trip there. Okay, and now your passengers. In the assignment, you can choose how many passengers you'd like to take. There have to be at least 2 of you. If you have entered more names in here, so let's say you have 3 people or 4 people, you need to enter it for 4 passengers, and you're going to be figuring out the entire cost of the trip for all the people going. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and do find flights. It's going to think about it. And notice these codes, you're going to be typing these in, LAX to PAR. Okay. And it really doesn't matter which trip you pick. As you can see, it's quite expensive to fly from LA to Paris. This is for 2 people, though. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick, and you might want to go by time. I'd like to leave in the afternoon and, arrive at night. I don't really want to arrive at, a weird time during the day. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just do the first flight here. And I'm going to fly economy. If you want to fly first class, go for it. Nothing against that. Okay, so it's a nonstop flight, $3,015.50, and it is in American dollars. Okay, I'm going to put in my date from LAX to PAR. Make sure you're doing the codes. And the type is flight. Actually do Delta flight. And you're going to need to know what flight it is. DL8553. And you really do need to put the flight in there. If this was a real itinerary, you really were going to take this on your trip to help you know where to go, knowing the flight number is absolutely imperative. You would want to have that written down so as soon as you get to the airport, you can find your flight. Okay, and then my cost, and I don't seem to have a long-term memory here, so I can't remember it. My cost is $3,015.50. Time was 3:50 p.m. And don't worry about total right now. And we're going to go ahead and add dollar signs to that. And now I'm ready for my next flight. So I'm going to fly to France, and then on the 19th, I'm going to fly from France to the London airport. So now I'm going from London, it's LHR, London to Paris, or from Paris to London, and I'm leaving on the 19th. Make sure it's a one-way trip, 2 passengers. Okay, so when I get to this one, it is a little bit different because now I'm not flying from the United States anymore. I'm flying within 2 international cities. So I'm going to look at the time. And this one looks like it has several legs to it, meaning that they have a couple of stops. So I'm just going to pick the first one. And once I do that, then it will give me the full details that I need. So you may get a site that looks like that. But now it gives me the flight. 3 o'clock, 1 stop. It does have a stop and a layover, but that's okay. And my price is here. Now you're going to notice that my price is now in euros. Okay, so I need to pay attention to that. 530. Actually, I want the total for all passengers. Okay, so 1,060.98. Oops. And we'll fix the to euros in a second. It's going to fly at 3 p.m. And this one is Paris to, it's actually HR. Now you'll also notice this actually isn't a Delta flight. If I look at my flight information, I'm actually flying on, hold on, right here. I'm actually flying on the KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines, okay? And this is number 2012. So I'm going to do KLM flight 2012. And then I actually put 2019 because there are 2 flights. I have a layover in Amsterdam. So fill this out as accurately as you can. Now we get to here we're in euros. And so when you go to pull down your price, to change it to dollar signs, pull down the arrow, and euros and a few others are right there. So if you're using the British pound or euros, they'll come right up. If you're using another currency that's not in that list, go to more accounting formats and then pull this down, and you can basically find every country in the world. You may have to do a search. Like I'm going to probably do it in a few minutes. I'm not sure what kind of currency they use in Argentina, so I might have to look it up. But that's you can find the symbol for any country. Okay. So I went ahead and finished out the other 2 flights. I have one from London to Argentina, and I put both flight numbers because there's a layover. This one was in pounds, so I made sure to add the pounds here. And then I did my other flight that takes me back home from Argentina to LA. This one had 3 layovers, so I put all 3 flights in there. And it was actually in dollar format. So going from Argentina to the United States was in dollar format, so I didn't have to worry about Argentine money just yet. One thing I did want to remind you too is to make sure you center this. Yours probably looks like this. It's all over on the side. Make sure that you've highlighted them all and centered them with all the levels. And it tells you to do that in the assignment, but I hadn't mentioned it yet. So now we're ready to go on and try out the lodging. So again, you can pick any hotel chain that goes international. I'm going to do Holiday Inn because I used to work there, so I know they have a lot of hotels. And I want to go to their official site. And so now I'm ready to find my first hotel, which is going to be on 8/15. And this is going to be back when I'm in Paris. Okay, so I need to find a location that is in Paris, France. And we're checking in on the 15th. Make sure you're in the right month. That would probably be a good idea. And we're checking out on the 19th. And there's 2 adults in the room. Again, if you have more adults in the room, if you had more adults, I did this once when I was practicing it, and I went to Egypt, I think, and they only have rooms that can fit 3 people, and I had 4 people in my trip. So if that happens, you're gonna have to get 2 rooms. So, or maybe you're traveling, you each like your own room, whatever. So keep that in mind. How many rooms do you need, and how many adults there are? And then I'm gonna go ahead and do my search and find a hotel. And now it gives me several different hotels to choose from. Again, I don't really care which one you pick. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. So you want to type in what hotel it is. You want to type the phone number for the front desk. So it's going to be in different formatting. You're going to type in the price. Notice this is just for one night. We're going to take care of that later, but just do the nightly price and enter that in. Now don't worry about converting that to US dollars just yet. And again, if you're not in the United States, if you're doing this from another country, just change that, from USD to whatever your country code is, your currency code is. All right, and then the next night, so I'm going to be in France for several nights, and then I'm going to be in London on the 19th. And then follow those same pattern. I'm not going to go through each one, but go ahead and find a hotel for each night. So and then I'm going to need a hotel for the 24th in Buenos Aires. And then I don't need another hotel unless you think you're going to stay the night in LA before you go home, which you might. In fact, you might want to look at your times because I'm going to leave LA at 8:25 p.m. I'm going to get to LA in the middle of the night. So I actually might want to add, another night in LA before I drive home, but, think about that. Okay, I've entered all of mine in, and you'll notice when I did Buenos Aires, actually they used American dollars. So luckily, I still have 3 different kinds. I have my euros, my British pounds, and my American dollars, so I did okay. You may have to change your country if you're not getting your 3 different types, because it is very important that you do that correctly. Okay, we're going to be figuring out our currency and conversions in a minute, but we want to go ahead and do our finances. This is where we're going to be figuring out the exchange rates. So I want to type in each country that I'm going to: France, England, and Buenos Aires, which I never seem to be able to spell. Okay, and now I want to figure out what their currency is. Now in order to do that, I need to go to another website. So you want to go to this site, okay, and it's listed in your assignment, xe.com, currency converter. And we want to find out the currency code. So you're going to put $1 as your amount. And we're going to make sure that it's US dollars, or whatever your starting currency is. And first I want to know what the currency rate is for euros. So I'm going to type in France. Okay. And I'm going to do a search. Now know that when you search this, you're going to get a completely different answer. As you can see from the chart, currency changes not just every day, but every minute, every second. It could be different the next time I look it up. So don't use the numbers that I have here, even if you're using euros, because it's probably completely different. Your exchange rate is going to be the second number right here, 1.38. That's my exchange rate, and this is my currency code. So I'm going to type in UER, or EUR, and 1.38 is my exchange rate. And it's also important that you don't just shorten it down. You want to do the full number, 1.38113, because it's very specific. Okay, and now I'm ready to do it again for England. Now you'll notice when I get to the Argentina one, they do have Argentine peso, so that's the kind of money they use. I didn't need to know that when I did my hotel, but if this were a real trip, you're probably going to exchange money into the local currency, so you're going to want to know what that is. So ARS is my country code, and it's 0.126822. I have my exchange rate. Also remember to center each of these. Okay. All right, next I'm ready to figure out my totals. So this total, I'm still going to do it's the same number because it's in American dollars and it doesn't change. This one I now need to convert it into US dollars. In your assignment, it gives you a specific way to do that. I am not going to go over it in this assignment. In this video, I want you to figure that out on your own, but it does tell you exactly how to type it in. So make sure that you have your exchange rate for this, and then add them together. This is one time where you can't just pull down. You have to do them each one at a time, especially because the formatting is different for each one. So now I'm ready to go ahead and add that together. It's all, and I do want this all to be in US dollars, okay, because I've converted it. And now I can add that together. And that's my total cost. And then you're going to do the same thing here. Now remember, when you do your lodging, you're going to have to times it by the number of nights. So the lodging one's a little different because you have to take this, figure out the exchange rate, and then times it by how many nights you're there. So now I've got my lodging figured out, and then all I have to do is figure out my travel. And this should be formatted the same way. I don't know if I missed that, but there we go. And that pretty much completes this assignment. Besides doing the print area. So we'll do that really quickly. And the print area, the reason you would do that is so that even if it goes over on another page or something weird's happening, you know it will only print what you want it to print. So I'm just going to highlight this area, pretty much the whole thing. I'm going to go to page layout, and where it says print area, I'm just going to say set print area. And now no matter what, even if something went over on another page or something weird's happening, it's only going to print this area. And you're good to go. You're ready to print. And I hope that this was helpful. It probably scared you away from ever planning an international trip, but it is a great way to see how you can use Excel for everyday things that you do as an adult in the real world. Thank you so much for joining.